Hey everybody, bwcummins here with something a little different for you tonight. I apologize for the length of the video, but this project took a little longer. It's still a one-day thing, hours, not days, but it did take a little longer. I've been gathering supplies to try my hand at sculpting. I used to do a little bit, and I'll show you a few things I made a while ago. Some simple things out of Sculpt, polymer clay. And I ran across a channel, I think he's called Ace of Clay, and he makes some really great stuff and explains what he's doing, so it's really cool to learn from him. I've learned a few things, including this approach to making eyes with some glass bwcummins, is that how you say that? That I bought off of whatever for real cheap and made some eyes. And so I was gonna sculpt something instead of draw something. But this is still kind of like a doodle, it's sloppy. It's not as Ace of Clay makes some really refined stuff, and I don't. But one of the things, he does these thrift shop finds that he remakes into something, and I thought it was really cool. So I found this this little ceramic shell at a garage sale or something, and so I thought, hey, I'm gonna use that in a sculpture. And so I started making something. There's a lot of products you can go buy for armature and paint and all that stuff, and I did pick up some clay tools, and I had some from before, but I'm the kind of guy who also is going to use what's laying around, so all the paint I used was from garage sales, and you can tell some of it's pretty chunky and whatnot. So anyway, I just used what was lying around and picked up a few things. I think the little the pupil were from Wish. I ordered them 7 years ago, so that they just got here. So just started sculpting. I had an idea that I wanted to do, and spent a lot of time on little details that didn't end up mattering later, just because this is a doodle, but in sculpture form instead of drawing form. Making a little body, it's a little creature that's going to come out of the shell, and you could probably guess what it's going to be. And it actually is a little story, borrowing from a Disney tale, The Little Mermaid. I'm making a Sebastian. The other thing that I showed in the beginning that you'll see me start putting right here is I bought some resin teeth that are like realistic teeth for dental work, and I picked those up for really cheap off of Wish, and it took forever to get here, and they finally got here, so I knew I was going to want to use those too. I'm trying to sculpt in the same style I draw in, which is kind of weird, a little bit gross. So I'm using these real teeth in this sculpture, and I'm making Sebastian, and this is the continuation of the story of The Little Mermaid. She, I think, if I remember right, married the prince and moved to land permanently. Is that right? I could be wrong. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen that show, but I'm pretty sure. And so I was thinking, whatever happened to Sebastian, it was his job to keep an eye on her, and if she's gone. So I thought maybe he got kicked out of the kingdom because he didn't have anything to do, or left or whatever, and now he's living in a shell down by the river. So anyway, he's sad because he found something that reminded him of Ariel, and that'll come into the end. So I'm just putting details, a little tongue, and it's been a long time since I've sculpted, and I'm not a real organized person, so I did some of this out of order, and then I'd tear it off and start again, or if I didn't like it, I'd tear it off and start again. And this clay has been around, this little, it's just Sculpt. It's been around my house for quite a while, so it was really tough to work with. I'd be excited if I keep doing this to get some fresh Sculpt, and the beige Super Sculpt, which I would prefer. It seems a little smoother and easy to work with. But this is what I had, and so I'm going to use what I had laying around. So I'm building up this little Sebastian character who's going to be coming up out of the shell, almost like a hermit crab, even though he wasn't. And I had to look up, I couldn't remember what it was called, but he found a fork, or what Ariel called a dingle hopper, and used to comb her hair with when they were down in her little treasure cave. That's what reminded him of Ariel, and he's missing Ariel, so this is a sad Sebastian. And I try to capture that in the eyes, and I think I actually modified the mouth quite a bit because he was kind of goofy looking, not sad at all. And everything's oversized and wonky, and the cartoon had very simple eyeballs, and these are, more realistic, so, but again, it lends to my style. a lot of this is experimentation. Like, I had no clue what I was doing, where I was going next. Didn't plan well in a lot of ways. If I were doing it again, I would probably consider building it in different pieces so it's easier to paint. I had a really tough time painting the little details, and again, it's pretty sloppy, especially compared to, like I say, I was motivated to do this by Ace of Clay, and please go to his channel, watch his stuff, it's awesome. But I got nowhere near, like I say, the cleanliness and the detail that he did. But I think he works over a period of time. I could be wrong, I don't know for sure, but this was all this afternoon, like. And so the eyes, by the way, have been cooked and hardened, so they're not going to be misshapen. But then I'm going to get most of the body and face and eyeballs done, and then I cook that so that as I'm working on the arms and other pieces, I'm not damaging the thing, the previous sculpt. And again, that's something that I think you'd learn how to do better with time, like doing it a lot, because I probably did some things out of order. I like doing something like this with a story in mind, because I can really try to focus on the expression, which I wanted to be sad, but also, you know, my style of lowbrow. And I'll do more with those teeth, and definitely more with the eyes. I've got a whole bag of the glass Caban eye things. So again, I don't even think I'm saying that right, but you get the idea. Here's where I tear it back into that mouth and kind of readjust his expression and draw that lip down so it's a little more sad. And then I'm just gonna shut up for a while and you can watch this. If you aren't patient, because I'm not, you can fast forward to the end and see how it turned out. But if you like, you can see some of the techniques I used to sculpt and how many times I had to tear something up and start over. Okay, at this point I went ahead and hardened the body, just cooked it for 15 minutes in the oven at 275 degrees like the box tells us to, and that way I can hold on to it without damaging it as I sculpt arms, and tried a few different things with the forearms, and it's not accurate to the cartoon, but I was just more trying to get the idea across, which is all I ever try to do. As long as you get the idea, then it's good. So I decided, I spent all that time on little love handles and back tones and all that stuff, even little butt cheeks that were going to be sitting right above the edge of the shell. But then I decided to put that back shell on him so that he's not so hermit crabby. And yeah, so that was a last minute decision. And then once I had that in place and those forearms in place, I cooked it again. And while that was cooking, I started making the claws. Since they were gonna have to hold a fork, I wanted to make them substantial, and I used the aluminum foil to bulk them up a little bit, and I also did that with the body back in the beginning, save some clay. Anyway, so making those guys, and then I hardened those, and it's all ready to assemble. Oh, I also make some little legs so I can have him kind of crawling out of the shell. That was also a last minute decision. Working out little details, and then once these little legs are done, I hardened everything. So then it's just a matter of paint and assembly. I went ahead and glued with some super glue, the claws on. I don't know, I think super glue reacts with polymer clay, because even though it's hardened, they never really set up very well. So when I glue him to the shell, to his base, I use 2-part epoxy. Like I say, I'm just using little craft paints that I bought at a garage sale that whenever I see them, I buy them, so I have a big bin, and some of these were pretty crusty. A lot of inclusions and yeah, just gross. And it made it more difficult than it would if, when you have good equipment, your job is easier. But I was in the flow. I was going to finish this today, so I just powered through. That purple just came out like a bird turd, so. But I just needed a little bit of it to change the pigment a little for his gums and tongue, so I wasn't really concerned about it. But you wouldn't be able to paint anything else with it. And I was very organic with this process. Like I say, not the most organized thinker, and I'm definitely not mathematical about my artwork, so I just kind of threw it on there, and I could have used more coats if I was going for a real graphic look, but I was going for separation of pieces at this point. And again, I don't have the patience for long projects. I start getting impatient and working, like hurrying through it. And that's the stage I was in. I just wanted to finish it so that I could be done. And then used like a serving fork, which is a little bit bigger, and just dirtied it up with some black. Because I thought since he's a small crab, a larger fork would make him look smaller. Plus, I didn't want to ruin any of my good forks. And that serving fork, I think, has been in the drawer unused for 1,000 years. So there we go. Just epoxying him in place. And then I didn't film when I added the legs because I forgot. There was a few times when I forgot to hit record, so here it is. Sad Sebastian crawling across the ocean floor and found this dingle hopper. And he's sad because he misses Ariel. Like I say, this is a creative channel, not just a drawing channel, so we'll be doing a lot of different stuff. Anyway, like and subscribe. Have a great day. Bye now.